Hello everyone and welcome to another painting video. This is part of my series of paintings called A Moment in Time, and here you can see I'm starting with a layer of burnt umber with acrylic paints, and I'm using a cotton bud to dab away the highlights of the face. And then I go in with a round brush and apply darker areas with burnt umber paints still in acrylics. It's important to dab away the paint where the highlights are while it's still wet, because once acrylics dry, it dries pretty quick. Here you can see me going in with an underpainting of acrylic paint before I can move on to the oils. This just helps to build up layers of color, because if you go straight in with the oil paints, sometimes it can look a little bit patchy in areas, so this just helps it look more opaque. I'm using a palette of colors that are useful for mixing skin tones. You've got warm colors such as red, yellows, whites, yellow ochre, and amber. Now you can see I'm going in with the oil paints, starting with the eye, which is one of the most important features of the face, as well as the nose and the mouth. And I'm going in, applying dark areas of the hair just to use it as a reference for the darkest parts of the painting and the lightest parts. I spent quite a bit of time on that because I wanted to get the details correct. And for this painting, I used a palette of titanium white, pale rose blush, cadmium orange raw umber, burnt umber and Mars black, and lizard and crimson. I look at my photo reference while doing this stage, and zoom in, and I take my time. I use pure alizarin crimson out of the tube for the creases in the eye. And for the iris I use a little bit of black. Pure black, just to get those darkest darks. And I also use that in a nostril as well. With the hair, I quite liked how it looked without much detail, so I didn't really give too much details to the hair, as I liked the kind of loose look it had. Next I start on the background, because the painting doesn't have much color apart from the face. I wanted to add some bright colors in the background, just to liven the painting up, since the birds are gonna be white and the jumper she's wearing is gonna be black. I felt like there needed to be some color, but as you'll see here, I actually erased the background that I've put down because I felt like it was too overpowering. But later on I go back and try and add the same look. With this series of paintings I'm trying to capture a moment in time that's been frozen, captured in the painting. Birds flying past and the thoughtful look of the face as the birds fly past. But ultimately I just think it looks pretty cool. It livens up what would be just an ordinary painting, which could just be quite boring. So, I like these surreal elements that get people thinking, what is the meaning of this? Here you can see I'm going and detailing on the birds. But what I first do is block in the areas of color, the general local color. Then I go in with more details later on, using a round brush and my new sable brush, which is great for doing lines and details. I go back over the jumper just to sharpen some of the lines that got blurred earlier on. Soft edges and hard edges are important in painting. Here I go back in with the background. And I liked the highlighter on the face. So I kept that in, even though at first it wasn't planned. Painting the birds was the most time-consuming part of this painting. But I wanted to get the details in there. I will be doing a couple more paintings in this series. I have 2 more paintings, drawn out and ready to be painted, so these will be uploaded soon. And then after this, I am planning to start something new. Usually while I'm doing these details, I'll be listening to an audiobook, as it can sometimes get a little bit boring. Here I'm trying to add texture into the background, just so it's not flat. I use a mixture of a synthetic round brush and the sable brush. The brush you can see I'm using here is the sable brush. Now I'm back to the synthetic brush. I recommend looking at buying a sable brush. You can get one for around £13 in the UK. And here is the final result. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more paintings just like this one. Thank you.